So, welcome again, Anita and Valentina and Dora.
Thank you.
I'm going to start with one question because the end scene is so fascinating to me, with all of them coming up out of the brush and sort of walking towards the high-rises. But it's another question that these characters, these young girls, these kids, they're not poor, it seems to me, and yet, and there's all the high-rises and the construction, but they're never sort of shot in the high-rises. They're always elsewhere and far away from it.
The how right?
The big tall buildings in the
okay.
city, really, in the city, but they're always not in the city. They're walking through construction sites or out in the bushes. I just find that interesting. You want to talk about that?
Yes, actually, I shot this film in a neighborhood in Rio called Barra da Tijuca, and it's a neighborhood that is like a middle-class dream in Brazil. No, in Brazil, no, in Rio. It has like these aesthetics that imitate something like Miami, Florida-like, and it's still under construction. It goes into the west, and in places that before that was like forests, woods, and they just go constructing. And with this model, with these big buildings, all look alike, with a lot of fences, a lot of security. So somehow it's like a lot of middle-class family stay like for years and years paying for apartment there. They buy before the construction, and they move there. So it's a place that like in a between. It has these big buildings, but you can find just nearby a road, still with dirt. So it's a place that has this contrast. Yeah. There's a building there, but there's a lot of vacant lots, a lot of them waiting for the speculation. To people that have a lot of constructions are buying these lands and just waiting for the right time to build there, so they can charge a higher price. And now the Olympic Games now will be a great part set in this neighborhood in Rio.
So yeah, so they're waiting for the dream. They're still on that side. I also find it interesting you talk about this neighborhood and this area, and I've been saying to people, because we do not, certainly don't think of themes when we choose the films for new directors, but for 3 nights in a row, and I realize now as I've been doing Q&As for them, that I have 3 films that all sort of like spring from a place, where the place itself seems to have a large part in the film, and in yours I see that too. And we talked a little bit about that just now, but can you talk about the genesis of the script and the story, because there are many layers.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit from the genesis and then how I went to the space. Yeah, I think my first inspiration for this film was something that when I was like 19, 20 years old, one of my best friends committed suicide. And after that, I went for like a mourning period. I was really sad and really angry. And then I started reading about the reasons that made her choose this path. And she was a girl that likes to live in a very extreme way. No one was expecting her to do that. It was a surprise for all the friends. And then reading, I come across a sentence which states something like, to be young is one to die without stopping living, is to feel everything extremely. And this sentence stayed with my mind. And then after that, I started to develop in this character, be a character, first in a short film, and then in this feature film. And I just wanted to build this girl that go doing what her body tells her to do, without thinking about the morality and what the other people say is right, is wrong. And also thinking death not as a position of being alive, but as a result of living a extreme way. And another inspiration for me, it was the story that Michelle, the one with the red hair, tells at the end about the actress that was killed. That really happened in Rio. It's one of the murder that's really famous in Brazil, and that was in '92. I was like 6, 7 years old, and was an actress that I used to watch on TV every night. So for me, it was a shock when she was killed in a brutal way, and her body was found in this neighborhood, and the photos leaked on the press of the body in these bushes. And I think that stayed in my mind, and also this neighborhood and this space. And so I have this interest in shooting there. And also because this landscape really fascinates me, the contrast between these buildings and these vacant lots. And also, I used to have a lot of friends when I was a teen that moved to the neighborhood, like in the 90s and beginning of the 2000s, that the families keep moving there with this dream of living there. And I sometimes try to stay in touch and go there for weekends, and I realized that the parents was never there because they have all this idea of the security. And so the parents go to work in the other side of the city, go traveling with the boyfriend, and then the kids stay there because they're safe, because there are fences. And so in there's a pool, there is a gym, the shopping mall is nearby, so the kids can be entertained. And I started observing these friends like growing up on their own.
So before we take questions here, let's bring Valentina and Dora into that. So you said there was a short film that certainly had the character of Bia in it.
Yes.
But Valentina, were you in that film, or did you do new casting?
No, actually, the girl that plays Bia in my short film is the one in the opening, Lorena. But now she's like 21, 2 now, and for me it was really important to have someone with the right age of the character. Both of them were 15 during the shooting.
When you were shooting, okay. So talk about how you found them and your other actresses, and then we'll talk a little bit about all of you working together.
For me, it was very important 2 things. First, actors playing the characters that have the same age, more or less the same age. I didn't want a 22-year-old girl that looks like 15 playing, and also I want people that want to act. I didn't want to go to the streets trying to convince. So I really like to work with people that really want to be on the set. And so I announced in school theaters and also on Facebook. And I think most because of the Facebook, a lot of people try. I just send some photos and your age and something like that. And all the girls that lived in Rio and was like between 13 and 19, I called her to a test. Wow. And then I tested more than 200 girls. And then a group of 50 with a more complete test, then 12. And then until I picked the 4 girls, I talked to some of the families also.
Now, and have either of you acted before professionally, like in a film, or was this your first film?
No, this is our first professional
first film. So talk a little bit then about how it was to work with Anita. Did you do a lot of rehearsal?
Yeah, we started rehearsing maybe 2 months before, 3 months before filming it, and Anita was in all our rehearsals, so we've seen her every day, and she gave us freedom to change some things in the script, because sometimes we were like, Anita, we don't talk like that, we talk like that, like things that we say like teenage. And I think it was a very rich and challenging process, because there was a point that we started meeting each other every day, and we had to give 100% of ourselves to this movie. And we started talking about our bodies and about ourselves and about sexuality and everything. And then you can say.
We like to say the word challenging, because it was really, really challenging. We had to be really honest and open with ourselves, with Anita, with the other girls. We became best friends, the 4 of us. And it was really intense. We discovered ourselves with each other. It was beautiful.
Okay. Let's see if we have any more questions here. Yes. So it's talking about sort of the fine line between, like, honesty and what is real, but also violence and what, could almost be verging on pornography. Some of those shots of the dead girls, particularly, I think you're talking about.
Yeah, no, about the photos, I think I have to put it there, most because of, was talking before, of this crime that happened in this neighborhood, and I saw in the photos of the body of these actors that was released in the press. So I think I had this urge to put it out there and sometimes be a little bit shocking. And also I thought these photos as also a contrast of the photos I show up in the beginning, like Facebook, Instagram photos. But I think more like a contrast between what's reality and what is fantasy, because somehow, for instance, Bia's brother, João, is almost lost in a fantasy world. And sometimes I also choose to showcase everything through Bia points of view that can be a little bit not so realistic as it could be. And I think sometimes I try during the film to start in a more life as it is, and then go changing as the characters go changing, and it goes affecting the way the film looks, and the way I'm shooting the characters also, to go more into what's Bia really feeling. I don't know if I answer or not.
Yes, in the back. In the back. Talk about the relationship between sex and violence in your characters' lives.
Yeah, I think growing up as a girl, and especially in Brazil, I don't know how it's here, you are always, a lot of things are put in your head, like you can do this, you can do that, this is dangerous, this is not dangerous. And a lot of urban legend and stories that you heard, like we was in the film, the Bathroom Blonde story, that's a variation in Brazil of the Bloody Mary. And it also has this idea, if you're a girl that has having sex, if you do this, if you do that, you can be in trouble, you can be beaten up, something bad can happen to you. So sometimes we grow up with these ideas. And I think as a teenagers, we are trying to separate all this that they are taught, sometimes without even realizing by the parents, by the society, but also trying to discover their sexualities in their own way. And trying, but sometimes they get mixed up. All these stories that they have all these stories that they have heard about, and sometimes, as Michelle tells in the beginning, she has like a fantasy that's almost a rape fantasy, and she's killed because she's a teenager. Everything in her head is like she's processing all the society has gave to her, and she's processing, trying to discover her sexuality in the middle of all that. And I think Bia is the one that goes against the morality and try to discover her sexuality in a more in her own way. But sometimes she also has these urges of violence in her.
And because there's a lot of blood in the film. I mean, sort of in dream worlds, but all of you know, everybody's getting beat up and things. And also, and I just think of it also in the sense of young women and coming of age and getting their periods. So that blood just sort of like, you know, sort of flows throughout the film for me. Yes. That was a comment that some of his scariest scenes for this audience member was at the snack bar.
Yeah, but schools in Brazil are just like that. Oh. And my high school was just like that. You have to beat it up to get your sandwich. But when I was in the post-production, I asked some friends, do you think people all around the world in the film, I was going to a film festival, do you think they understand that? And a friend of mine said, everyone that went to a cocktail will know what I'm talking about.
But you had actually another question. Yes, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yes, talk about the way you treated religion. I found this, like, I made a little note that was like the sexy Christians, because it's like...
So in Brazil, the evangelicals, it's like every year more and more people that are evangelicals. 30% of the Congress now are from politicians that are evangelical, so we are turning But also there's all kinds of evangelical churches now. And the one I showcase in the film is inspired by one that has a big church in this neighborhood that I shot, and also other churches all around Brazil, called Snowball Church. The name is also in English. And it's a church that they use like a surfboard as an altar, and the priests are like also teenagers and youngsters, and they sometimes use the sexuality to try to attract people. They do raves and things like that. Of course, I picked that and I put a lot of irony on that. Some friends wrote the song that she sings. But for instance, a lot of the things that she says in the quotes, I watch a lot of quotes from this church and I just write down, so it's not so different of what's really said in this church. But I don't know, I think that now in Brazil, I live in a time that very polarized, because a lot of conservative people churching and others in a very left-wing way, so it's like very polarized now. But I think I have to put this evangelicals is very big now, especially beyond the teenagers and in this neighborhood. So I have to put it in the film, and especially as the character of the boyfriend, that he's like, he goes to the church, he believes in that, but he just can't, he always is in sin. And
You said 30% of like the Congress or
yeah,
the
almost 30,
evangelicals?
yeah, I don't have the right number, but it's complicated now.
You know what I'm talking about, yes. So this is a question about Jacques, Bia's brother. Well, first of all, as you point out, that he does seem to be the closest thing to a grown-up in the film, and there is that thing, you mentioned it before, about there are like no adults in here. It's the kids are on their own. And also, are we correct in presuming that he is the killer?
Yeah, a lot of people think that he's the killer, but maybe he's not the killer. For me, he isn't. But I don't know if we're so certain in the film, but I like it be open there. And I think for me, I think that don't showcase any grow up, no parents, no one in the school, no one that represents like a mentor or something, someone to guide them. For me, João, he's like 24, 25 years old, but for me, he's also a teenager. He's for me a character that's really common in my generation, that is kind of person that still lives with the parents, that tries to work as little as possible. And sometimes he stayed lost in the world of these all social networks, and he's over there like lost in his mind. If someone is not connected, for him it's the same of being dead. And for me, he's a romantic that just can't deal with the way to be in love and to have relationships in the nowadays society. But his relationship with Bia is like a roommate. But for me, he's a kind of very mature guy. So for me, I consider him also as a teenager. And I know a lot of Joãos in a lot of friends of mine that really resemble him. But I think when I write him, I have this necessity to put this character that first was the opposite as Bia, because she's not the most common. She's like exception. She's the one that likes to go to the street. She likes to experience everything in reality. She likes to go out there and walk. And he's more the common one. He's behind doors, in a sofa, with a laptop. And I think he represents much more what's that being a youngster nowadays is. But he's like lost in his mind for me. But maybe he's a killer, or maybe he's one of the killers. There's more one killer. It's not sure.
Yes, I like that we can think it or not think it, and it sort of leaves that wide open. I thought I saw somebody in the back with their hand up.
There.
But I'm sorry. You point out to who?
No, there.
Did you see?
There.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. So it being the first time filming for both of you, what was, for each of you, the most difficult scene to film?
For me, the most difficult scene, I think it was the scene that she comes closer to the dead body and kisses this dead body, because the scene is very intense. We'll never probably experience something like that. So I had to search for feelings that are similar, or I don't know, I think it was very honest, because I really felt like scared, but I had this thing that I needed to go and get close to this body. And also I think the circumstances, it was very hot. We filmed in
We shot it during the summer.
So it was like very, very hot. And the girl, she's from Argentina. She doesn't speak Portuguese and everything. She was feeling sick, so everything was kind of weird. And we spent like so much time in that scene.
It was like 47 Celsius degrees in this land. I don't know how it's in Fahrenheit, but it was like everybody was like almost fainting and have hallucinations. It was a very challenging day.
We spent like 5 hours maybe, or I don't know, more filming just that scene, and I think that was the most difficult scene for me.
To me, the most difficult scene was the one that I'm in the bathroom, and to take my hair off. My character has this disease to take her hair off, and to me, that was really hard to reach. Anita, she made me watch some movies that characters had the same situation, and my character there with the nose broken and all fallen apart, and this obsession, to me, it was something really intense.
Ah, yes, all those hard, difficult scenes. It's very interesting you mentioned the hallucinations, and I thought, well, that must have been very sort of a good thing for your character, you know, hallucinations and the dreamlike state. So now, both of you, are you anxious to do more film work now that you've done it?
Yeah, a lot.
A lot. We talk about it every time.
Yeah.
Well, I think it looks like you got like a very good start on it,
Thank you.
for sure. And let's see, what over here? Oh, there's one over here. Let's go over here. Ah, the scene after is it Felipe who dies? I think, and they all go away. When they come back, yeah, a lot of them seem to have black and blue and blackened eyes and things like that.
Actually, during the film, I start to insert some people in the background with a broken nose, with a red eye, and then in the scene it was like a lot of people. And for me, I want to pass this idea as somehow a virus, that somehow as Bia is going through this process, but all the teenagers are feeling something really strange over there. So I think that's like they're like in the same way that she's wanted to be killed and feel everything. The other teenagers are also feeling that, and I think these bruises are like the way like a virus is in their bodies. I don't know, something in my head, this idea. And also, for me, the end is a little bit like that. I want to showcase, because a lot of people ask about the end, and okay, maybe they are dead, but for me, the most important part of the end is think that I decided to tell Bia's story, but the film is more about being a teenager. So the same way she's going through that, a lot of people can go through the same process in a more extreme way, not so extreme way, but a lot of people can also experience what she's experienced, because in the end of the day, she's experiencing a very extreme way what to be a teen.
You're seeing people that I'm not.
Over there.
You pointed out.
There,
Okay.
last row.
The last row. So, first of all, this is a question about sort of the closeness of life and death and sort of rising from the dead. There seems to be a lot of talk about that. And there's that question of, at the end, people who are coming up out of the bushes and walking towards the city, are they the dead people?
No, actually, we're talking also about the Lazarus that I put in the song. And I think for me, I have this idea of the people are like, maybe can be like living dead, but not in for me, not in the way that they are really dead. It's more in the way there's another day and can go into over and over and over. More is the idea of repetition. And like they are in the world that they continues like in a circle, maybe doing this all over and over again. And also that song in the end I wrote with a friend of mine. And because there is a very famous song in Brazil that tells the story of Lazarus. I think it's the most famous evangelical music. And I make somehow a parody of that, so here it's not so well known. But I'm really fascinated about this myth, because it's something in the Bible that's almost like a resurrection story, something that really resembles a vampire story, a Frankenstein story. And it's also in the Bible, in the same way that the sentence that Bia says that life is blood, there's a sentence that's said a lot in the Bible, and it's the sentence that Dracula says in a lot of movies also. So I think somehow it's all mixed up a little bit in my mind now, but yeah. But I was saying before, I try to portray life and death, but in a way that one is not the opposition of each other, and one is like a result of the other one, and try to portray a way of living that you have to be out there and do what your body is telling you to do, and maybe repeat all over again the next day, and just, as I said before, die without stopping living.
Yes, and they are so very close there. I think, yes, right here. Can you talk about, it seems to be these night scenes where there's like, I think I noticed that once, like there's like very bright light and then it goes away. And are the students, are they walking the same area during the day? Talk about that. Also, but also talk about, if I can sort of add to that question, the idea of Bia, because of what she's thinking in her life, walking through these areas at night when one shouldn't be, given the circumstances.
Yeah, I think what I just said, I think being a teenager has the energy of doing what's not so right. I remember being a teen and for instance, my mom giving me money to go back by night in a taxi, but I just have to take the bus and then walk 5 blocks to my apartment because I want to feel this energy of being alive. And today I have no courage to do that. But when I was like 15, 16, I used to do things that today would be like so stupid. But also, I think these lights, I use the same location, but I don't know that people realize that the same location was not on purpose. But the lights for me was more like this attraction that's being built on Bia to go out there. It starts like a small light and then go like bigger and bigger. For me, it's like this, symbolizes attraction for her. And there's also some idea of abduction. It's just like some a calling. This light's like a calling. Come on, Bia, come to the dark side.
Yes, ooh, like a siren. I think one more question, and it's you. So it's a question that we are all left to sort of our own devices to see what we interpret everything as. And the question is for Valentina and Dora. Is there any part of the film that you yourselves, you saw the film tonight, certainly you've seen it before, that you don't understand? Or if I can also say that you don't understand, or you might have a different interpretation than Anita does of parts of the film.
Actually, about the lights, I really liked this question because I didn't know too what the lights meant. And I was like, oh, really? Now. So that's a thing I had no idea. In the end, I think those people are alive. To me, I have this interpretation. Because I think it's about how they go there, they challenge death, but exactly why they challenge, it doesn't happen. You see, like, when people are not expecting, death catches them, but those teenagers go there, they say, I'm ready, and it doesn't happen. And to me, that's how I see the end. But there are some things I don't understand. I have to think more.
We hear Anita talking, and then we kind of discover things.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I didn't know
In all
that.
interviews,
And,
it was like that.
Yeah. I think it's a very nice question because I think that the first time I saw the movie, lots of things got clear in my head. Because we film out of order, so sometimes I think about a scene in a certain way, and then when I watch the movie, I'm like, oh no, I think this scene with that scene makes another, I don't know, another point of view, yes. But yeah, there are some crazy things. I think it took a long time for us to put everything together, but I think that during the filming, I think
we understand.
We understood because we need to know what we're doing, right, in that scene. But I think that when I first saw the movie, lots of things got clear in my mind.
Very, very good question. A very interesting way to finish this, that we all have our own interpretations, and you allow us to have our own interpretations of these films, of the film. Thank you so much to all of you. I thought it was wonderful.
You.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody.